How is the residential status of a Singapore company decided? And where does the residential status of the Singapore registered company matter? This is the topic of discussion for this presentation. However, keep it in mind that residential status of a company is a fairly complex topic. And when it goes into double taxation avoidance agreements, it requires very thoughtful study of this topic. So I don't want people to get confused about this. So what I'm presenting here is basic concepts which are more relevant for small companies. If you have a specific scenario, then seek a direct advice from us. So moving on to the next slide then. First of all, why this residential status matters. If a company is a tax resident, what benefits it will get? So if a company is resident in Singapore, then it will get benefits under the avoidance of double taxation agreements. What that means is if this company is subsidiary entity of any other company from foreign jurisdiction, and if in that jurisdiction the income of this company is taxed again, then in that case DTA provisions will apply if the company is tax resident in Singapore, and company will have to pay less taxes in its home country. That is the first and a major benefit. The second benefit is tax exemptions on foreign source dividend, foreign branch profits, and foreign source service income will be given to this company under Section 13, subsection 8 of the Income Tax Act. So, what is the scenario here? If the company is resident in Singapore and if that company receives any of these type of income, then in that case, that income will be exempted from taxation if the company is tax resident. If the company is non-resident, then that exemption is not available. And the last benefit is that the tax exemption for new startup companies is available only to companies which are resident in Singapore. So you would recall that there is a tax exemption where out of first $100,000 income, $75,000 income is exempted from taxation for first 3 assessment years of a company. So moving on to the next slide, then what is the tax residency then? So for tax purpose, every person, so let's take case of an individual first to understand the concept, is decided where that person is resident. So you would have heard terms like resident, non-resident, and in some countries there is a term called as resident but not ordinarily resident. So an individual's income is taxed in the country in which the person is resident. Of course, there are some other scenarios where the taxability might arise in other jurisdiction also, but in general, in majority of the cases, individual's income is taxed in the country in which he is resident. And the test of this residency depends upon 183 days stay in that country. So simply speaking, if you are staying in a country for more than 183 days, so 183 days is actually half of the year, then in that case you are considered to be resident of that country. So if a person is staying in Singapore for 183 days or more and working here, his income will be taxed in Singapore and no other country has to do anything with that income. Now in case of individual, this is very easy because individual is a live person and this person can be in one country at any given point of time. The person cannot be in two countries. It's very logical. Unfortunately, when it comes to the corporate entities, the situation will become complex. So again, in case of corporate entities, there are resident and non-resident companies. So when we refer to Singapore company, by default, a Singapore registered company is considered to be resident in Singapore. But it is quite possible that the company is actually non-resident. So when we file tax return, and when we claim any other benefits under double taxation avoidance agreement, this residential status need to be decided. And the main test of the corporate entity's residential status is where the management and control of the company resides. So let's move on to the next slide. Now one thing is there, as I said, residential place of the corporate entity is often complex to determine, and the primary reason is company is an artificial person. So technically company can be resident in multiple countries also. and its management and control can be exercised from any other country. So let's take one example that there is a company which is registered in Singapore. However, the promoters stay in UK. So what do we conclude in this case? Is this company resident in Singapore or is this company resident in UK? And let's make this scenario even more complex that promoters quarterly visit Singapore for business meeting purpose. Let's take another example. A Singapore registered company has two promoters. One promoter stays in UK, another promoter stays in USA, and the company's main business or the main market from where company earns revenue is in Malaysia. So as you can see, because of this legal person concept which is attached to the company, that is artificial person, determining the residential place of corporate entity is often complex. And now let's see what criteria is generally adopted in practice, because in practice we cannot keep something very complicated and spend our mind in determining the residential status of each company. So obviously where the business is controlled and managed is a criteria, and what that means is where does the meeting of the boards are conducted, that is the first criteria. And the second criteria is where is the books of accounts of the company are maintained. So residential status of majority of the small and simple companies will depend upon these two factors. Out of this factor number one, where does the meeting of the boards are conducted, is again kind of questionable, because suppose a company has two promoters and they might be staying in any country, and if they meet every day and work for the company, they are not going to have necessarily formal board meetings. So in that case, general practice recommended is that you have at least one board meeting in Singapore, one or two board meetings, and the books of accounts should be maintained in Singapore. If this criteria is satisfied, then company can claim to be resident in Singapore and take benefits of all those points that we have discussed previously. Additionally, company can also apply for certificate of residency, which is also called as COR. This application needs to be done with IRS. So IRS, you will have to declare certain things like where the books of accounts are maintained and where the management and control of the company is exercised. So this certificate of residency can be applied online, and it is a proof that company is a tax resident in Singapore for that accounting year. So IRS will issue it for a specific year of assessment. Now keep it in mind that the residential status can change from year to year. So you will need to obtain this COR every year when you want to claim any of those tax benefits. So if you are planning to avail the tax benefits under double taxation avoidance agreement, along with your application for those benefits or that concessional rate application, you will have to attach this COR. So as you have seen, the residential status of a Singapore company has a bearing on the tax benefit and tax treatment of certain income. Corporate residential status primarily depends on where the control and management resides. At times it is complex to decide, but there are general set of practices which are followed in the market to ensure that the residential status of the company remains in Singapore.
Thank you for watching this video. This video was brought to you by Epica Consulting Singapore. Subscribe to our channel today to get notified when new videos are posted.